The Bloodline in 2026 is not working at all. Let's talk about it. All right. So, we all know that the Bloodline storyline is arguably the greatest wrestling storyline of all time, rivaled by only the McMahon Austin rivalry. I would say an honorable mention would be the formation of the NWO and WCW. But outside of that, there is no other storyline that comes close. So, what does WWE do? We are creatively bankrupt. Let's go back to the well and see what works. Well, Roman Reigns wins the World Heavyweight Championship from CM Punk at WrestleMania. The very next night, he wants that old thing back. He links up with his old running buddies, his cousins, the Usos. Now, he said that this time is different. He doesn't need them to serve him. He doesn't need them to be his lackeys. He just wants them by his side. Has almost been using them in an advisory role, which I love for storyline. But that's where it ends. Immediately after this, we see Jacob Fatu coming out and challenging Roman Reigns for a match at Backlash. There's no problem with wanting a match at Backlash. There's no problem with that, other than the fact that Jacob Fatu is a SmackDown superstar. But I get it. We've got to reinvent the wheel with the Bloodline storyline, right? That was the goal, was to reinvent the wheel. Yet, we haven't reinvented the wheel at all. It's been the same old thing. And now we've muddied the waters because now everybody feels like tweeners. We had Jey Uso, who was arguably the biggest baby face in 2025. He was all about the crowd, all about coming from the crowd and yeeting with the crowd and running it back and doing all the things. And now he has just all of a sudden just thrust back into this role as a tweener. So then does that mean Jacob Fatu is going to be the baby face? Nope. We allow Jacob Fatu week in and week out to destroy the OTC Roman Reigns, who is getting cheered out of the arena every single week because he's the biggest star on the show. So then we get to Backlash. And of course, a month in from winning the World Heavyweight Championship, Roman Reigns is not going to lose. He's not. He says, he tells Jacob Fatu, what happens if you don't beat me? Then you have to acknowledge me. How is that any different than any other version of the Bloodline that we've seen? It's always been the same old thing. If it's somebody from the family steps up, unless they dethrone him, you have to acknowledge him. Again, you're muddying the waters. Is he a new version of Roman Reigns, or is he just a rinse and repeat version? Think about it. Roman Reigns has not one time really changed anything about his character. He seems slightly more open to collaboration, as he's now, it seems like he has a little bit of respect for Jey Uso, a little bit of respect for Jimmy Uso. They've essentially become his wise men. But they weren't there to protect him. They weren't there to save him. So what's going on with that? It makes no sense. They even said, we will stay back unless things get out of hand. But yet, they confronted Jacob Fatu multiple times about using that Tongan death grip. Yet, Jacob Fatu continues to use the Tongan death grip, repeatedly and repeatedly attacking Roman Reigns, and no Usos. Now, I'm all for Roman Reigns fighting battles on his own. I'm all for everything. But at the end of the day, there needs to be, if we're going to do this storyline again, it needs to be a new book, not a new chapter. We need to write a new book because Bloodline 2020 to 2024 ended when Cody Rhodes finished the story and Roman Reigns went off into the sunset. That's when that book ended. So now, if we're going to open another book, we've got to write a new story. WWE has not done that. It's no fault of any of the characters. It's no fault of Roman Reigns. It's no fault of Jey Uso. It's no fault of Jimmy Uso. And it's no fault of Jacob Fatu. It is 100% on creative to write stories that are compelling, that are going to be worthy of closing Monday Night Raw, since we insist on closing Monday Night Raw week in and week out with the OTC segment, with the Bloodline segment. And it's absolutely the right move to finish the show with the Bloodline if it's going to be absolute cinema. What we have gotten has not been absolute cinema, it has been absolute creative confusion and creative or lack thereof. I need WWE's creative to get it together and make this storyline work, because right now you are wasting some of the absolute best talent that you've ever had in this organization doing things the way you're doing.